So, thanks Tim for joining me once again. Today's video going to be about this awesome album, Turn Back by Toto. And this is kind of like a overlooked and underrated album, in my opinion. And yeah, I think it's really cool. Their first album was very successful, very good singles on there. And then you had Hydra, which was more progressive. Some people say I don't really feel like it was a progressive rock album, but it was kind of more progressive than the first album, at least. It had songs like Hydra and stuff like that. Um, but then this album, Turn Back, I feel it's more hard rocking kind of Toto sound. So I really enjoy this, and it's gonna be fun to talk about. So yeah, you got the 8 track there, really cool. So
Yeah, Chris, this is actually one of very few. This actually has a gold stamp on it,
it's a
which I,
promo.
I don't. Yeah, something about owned by CBS. I've seen lots of stamped records, but I think this is the only stamped 8 track I have.
Okay,
Um,
that's cool.
yeah, great album. Great overlooked album. As big as they were at that time, they've got this album that was a big drop in album sales. Yeah, Hydra. Once you get past Hydra and St. George and the Dragon, there's not really anything prog on that album.
Yeah,
It starts
yeah,
off that way. Other than that, it's just a Toto album, which is it's quite good. But you're right. I mean, this album is a relatively harder rocking Toto album for them. It's the only time that they worked with a guy named Jeff Workman as producer. He was Jeff Workman started out as an engineer for Roy Thomas Baker, and I think it's interesting because as a producer, he had just come off producing the Departure album for Journey in 1980, which if people know that album, if you think of how Any Way You Want It sounds, that was a harder rocking album for them, relatively. So I think maybe they might have said, "Hey, let's see if we can do an album that is a little bit more guitar oriented, kind of like that album." I mean, they would have known each other, they were on the same label, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, unfortunately, this one was not successful.
yeah, yeah. And I have some information here. So this album, it says on Wikipedia here that it sold about 900,000 copies worldwide, which is kind of wild. That is not a lot of
Yeah.
copies sold. So yeah, and it was actually most successful in Japan. Goodbye Eleanor was actually a hit single in Japan, which surprised me when I read it. So, but it didn't do anything elsewhere. So, and I think it- Goodbye Eleanor, Live for Today, and If It's the Last Night, I think those were the three singles, if I'm correct.
They are, and I've got them here to talk about when we get to
Yeah.
them.
Are those
Yeah.
rare to find on 7 inch?
Well, I don't know how many. Like, I don't know if there's a North American picture sleeve. I like getting picture sleeves.
Yeah.
Maybe Goodbye Eleanor, but I've got one here is a Japanese single. The other ones I think are from definitely from Europe. If well, no, I've got one from Holland. Uh, where does that one say it was done? Looks about the same. I think they were both from Holland, and I've got a Japanese one. So, you can find singles just, in a company sleeve. But if you want a picture sleeve single, yeah, the record label didn't put that extra promotional push into it for some reason, which it doesn't really make any sense. Yeah, 9,000 copies worldwide for a band. I mean, that first album was sold 2 million copies in the US alone.
Yeah.
And then Hydra was a gold record, which is 500,000 copies in the US. And so this album hasn't even certified,
Yep.
which is crazy. So
Yep.
it's probably around, if I had to guess, I would say it's probably around the 350, 400,000 range in the US.
Mm.
And it just, what it didn't have was a hit to
Yep.
get a lot of people buying it. I mean, Hydra didn't have a huge hit, but it had 99, which got
Mm.
enough airplay to make it a gold. Plus, they were coming off a big debut. By now, yeah, as we find out, this could have been the end of their recording career. If their
Yep.
next album wasn't successful, Columbia Records would have kicked them off the label. Of course, we know that they came up with Toto 4 and they righted the ship. But yeah, but this album, I didn't discover this album until 1993. I don't even think I knew it existed.
Okay.
And it was a pleasant surprise.
I always find like albums before big bands like breakouts. I think those are so fascinating looking back at them. Like
Yeah.
this album, think about like "Obscured by Clouds" by Pink Floyd. That was released 1 year before "Dark Side of the Moon," and we know "Dark Side of the Moon" is this big phenomenon. You know, it sold so many copies, and it was on the billboards for like years and
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, and that was also like a soundtrack album, and those albums are really interesting to look back on. And I think this is one of those curiosities, and I really really like this album, and I don't understand why people don't talk about it enough. Maybe because Total 4 overshadows it, because that was such a huge album with big hits that are played on the radio constantly, even today.
Even
So, but
today.
this album had no like radio single hits, anything
Really.
like that. So, and they
Not
even
that.
did like videos for "Live for Today" and "Goodbye Eleanor." And
Yeah.
actually, here it says that Lucifer blames like that they did these live videos. They didn't do like use the studio recording over the video and just miming to the song. So they actually did live videos, and
Yeah.
he says that probably had some consequences on their success, which I find kind of interesting. Goodbye Eleanor didn't get any MTV airplay at all, it says here. Uh, yeah, and he also says that the reviews were very negative at the time. So, and they also didn't tour to support this album, which is
That would
interesting.
definitely. Yeah. That maybe more than anything
Yeah,
might have hurt them. But
absolutely.
also, I mean, what people have to realize is that Toto wasn't just any band. All of those guys were constantly in demand for sessions. So, they might have thought, well, we could go on tour, but we'd be passing up all of this session money. And I think that I happen to think that there were songs on this album that could have been hits. There's certainly catchy songs on here,
Mhm.
but it is more rock oriented than anything that they had done to this point. And I would say that the the only other album that they have that's as sort of like, relatively speaking, pedal to the metal would be Kingdom of Desire many
Yep,
years later,
yep,
which is a fantastic, fantastic album. But this album is, yeah, it's not. It doesn't lean. What this album doesn't have that the first album say and the Toto 4 doesn't have. It doesn't have a lot of that R&B. It doesn't have. These guys could play anything. These guys were just consummate master musicians that could play any style of music, and often that made its way into Toto's writing. Um, and this is kind of we're just going to write some rock songs and a couple of ballads, and I don't know. I mean, there's no reason, given who was popular in 1981, the bands that were popular, and a lot of them were on CBS Records. They were on the same label. Certainly, Journey put out Escape in '81. That was a huge album. Loverboy did Get Lucky. That was their biggest album. The year before, REO Speedwagon had High Infidelity. I mean, these were all huge selling albums. And here comes Toto on the same label. And, in 1981, they couldn't get arrested. It's very
yep,
strange.
yep. One other interesting thing that I just read on here, it says in 2018, Turnback was remastered by longtime Toto collaborator Elliot Shiner, I think you pronounce his name.
Shiner, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I think he produced Kingdom of Desire, Taboo, and Minefields, I think.
Yeah, yeah, he worked with them. Um, so yeah, Elliot Shiner worked with them from like the '90s forward on a few of their albums.
Yep.
I think it's a good sounding album. Maybe it was maybe a little bit too harsh for top 40 radio, but I don't. That doesn't make sense. That's like we're looking for reasons why it wasn't successful. I just think it wasn't promoted because,
Yeah,
um, you know, And yeah, we'll get in when we get into the songs. I do want to talk about those videos because I think they're very, very cool. I'm not so sure they put the best singles out from the album. I think there's at least one song on here that should have been a single that could have been a hit, but yeah, I remember finding the album. The first thing I remember was seeing a picture of it, and I always
Mm,
liked the album cover. I like the simplicity of it, making a face
yeah,
with, and it really, when you're flipping through used records, that really stands out.
yeah,
It's just a stark white background with that sort of so I think that they did that right as far as catching people's eye. But yeah, it just didn't the crazy thing about it is that it didn't do well, and it's not one of those albums that eventually was certified, and that's a shame. But
mm,
that's when you really see the difference a hit single or two can make
yeah.
for an album.
One thing I wanted to say about the remaster there was that Turnback was. It says it Turnback was most in need of remastering, with the original CD in particular suffering from poor sound quality. Do you have the original CD?
I'm not. Yeah, well, I don't know how original it is, but let me see here.
Do you have an early CD at least?
It's a U yeah, it's not remastered or anything. It's a US CD, and I think this is probably one that came out in 1986 when CBS put out a lot of CDs. I do know this. One thing that makes it older is the fact that it just says CBS on the
Yeah,
disc and not Columbia.
yeah,
So yeah, I would say this has been kicking around for a while. It's it's not the greatest production. Maybe you could say it's a little muddy, but I listen for the songs and
yeah. Because I
but
have the
it yeah,
2018
it
remaster,
definitely
and
yeah, it
the
definitely
box set here, it sounds really good. So yeah, I
it,
like it.
it definitely doesn't have the polish
Yeah,
that their albums have as far as production goes, but I think they wanted that. I think they wanted a slightly more raw sound. I mean, I know Lukather was, in those early days would always say that you couldn't hear his guitar. He said like David Page would have him solo in the mix. He'd have to strain to hear his solos.
yeah,
There's a great interview with him talking to Rick Beato. He's been on Rick's show a couple times.
yeah.
He's a
I've
great
seen
guy to
those.
watch an interview. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was, and yeah, it's true. I mean, of the initial, from the first album through the seventh one, it's the only album that didn't have at least one song that hit the US top 40. It's the
mm,
only one. Not all of them had huge hit singles, but they all had at least one song that dented the chart, and this just didn't, which is weird for a band coming off a couple of successful albums
mm,
for them to nosedive like that so quickly.
yeah, yeah. So here I have a snippet from a Lucifer interview in 2013, and he said, "We wanted to prove we were an arena rock band. It probably was the weirdest record we've done, certainly sonically, but we were really proud of it when it came out. It didn't really catch on. Over the years, it sold, and now it's kind of a cult favorite with fans. But at the time, it was kind of stiff, and then we panicked. We never even went on the road for that one. The record company was like, "Okay, guys, we let you know what to do, what we want you to do. Are you going to give us a hit record? Because if you don't, we're going to drop you." So yeah, that's kind
Well,
of
I mean,
interesting.
that's probably the biggest reason right there why there was no tour behind it, because usually you go on tour to support an album that you've had an advanced single come out and it's taking off.
Mm,
They didn't have that,
yep,
and that was back in the day where, like, now bands just tour. They're not supporting an album, they're just touring.
yep,
They're touring their back catalog,
yep.
whereas then you didn't go on tour unless you had an album to support, unless you had hit singles to support. So yeah, it's really interesting. But I mean, he's absolutely right. It is just talking to people online and other Toto fans. I mean, most Toto fans will say, yeah, I really like that album. And I remember when, uh, like I said, didn't find the album until 1993, thinking, why have I never heard any of these songs before? This is this is not an obscure band. Why do they have it? And it's kind of cool that in the middle of this run of hit albums, they have this one sort of outlier that is not a successful album. But if you go back and listen to it, and over time, the songs are really good and they get in your head. And um, I'm kind of glad that they've got this sort of dark horse album. They've
Yeah.
got a few dark horse albums throughout their career, but this one was really the fact that it didn't have a top 40 single on it was crazy to me.
And also, Hydra wasn't that as successful as the debut. Also, so like if they didn't have like the main single from that album, which was '99, if they didn't have that on that album, would Hydra be as forgotten as Turn Back?
I think
That's an
so. I think
interesting
so.
thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so because I think that I can't think of any other. I like the Hydra album.
Me
I don't
too.
like all of it.
Yep.
Quite a bit. I don't think there's anything on that album besides 99 that has that immediate that
Yeah.
could catch on at pop radio. 99 was an odd single because it's not, it was kind of a slower, kind of mid-tempo thing, but I can understand why the record label wanted to put it out because it was the most immediately commercial thing on that album. Um, yeah, I think without that, it probably would have been even, they might have had two albums in a row that stiffed like that. So
Yeah.
I know from, we know looking back in history that they started out big, kind of dropped a little bit, went way down and then way back up.
Yep.
At the time, the record label saying that their career has been going like this
Yeah.
and not coming back up, and yeah, the rest is history. And obviously, uh, they came through with a big
Mm.
album and two evergreen hit singles, like you said, still get radio play to this very day. But obviously, this was something they needed to get out of their system. And I think if they hadn't sold as many albums as they had sold up till this point, they probably wouldn't have been able to do an album like this. And the record label would have been at them to say, no, I don't hear any hit singles on this. You got to go back in the studio, write some more songs. So um, they were able to kind of do this, and then they recovered from it. But yeah, I just glad it's out there to listen to, and for newer fans to discover. Like, this is an album where if you think you like Toto, but you've heard Africa and Rosanna and Hold the Line on the radio a million times, go back and listen to this album. You'll hear that it's the same band, but you've not heard any of these songs, probably
Yep.
none of them.
Yep. And I just love like Lucifer's guitar sound on this album. He spoke about
Yeah,
in that interview I mentioned earlier that sonically it was kind of different, and I also think his guitar sound is kind of different on this one. I can't really explain why, but there's something about it that sounds more harsh, maybe. It
yeah,
sounds a bit different, and that really goes hand in hand with that more hard rock sound that's on this
yeah,
album. So yeah, and you also mentioned before, like this album and Kingdom of Desire are the two like more rocking albums in the catalog, and that's why I really like both of those albums too.
yeah.
So yeah, it really sticks out, and yeah. So I guess we'll get into the songs. I think the first opener, "Gift with a Golden Gun," is really really good. I love the riff that I just love the riff. Um, Very catchy song. Bobby Kimball is on fire on this album.
Yeah.
He sounds
Really
really,
good vocals.
really, really good. So
Yeah.
yeah, a great opener, a lot of energy. Just a great choice. What do you think about the first track?
It's great. It's a great opener. It's got a really cool riff, and it's not. I mean, obviously Steve Lukather is a guitar legend who doesn't get enough credit,
Yep.
probably because he is so versatile. But it's not a riff that you can pick up and just learn. It's really chordal and complicated, and it's got a melody written into it before the rest of the band even kicks in.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, what a great up tempo song. Um, and it's yeah, Bobby Kimball's vocals are, I think, hitting a peak on this album. Really, really good. But great when it drops down in the chorus for the gift with a golden gun, got you on the run. Harmonies, great,
yeah.
but and then it picks right back up. Um, Yeah, and yeah, there's a lot of this is a very I guess you could say this is kind of a mid-rangey sounding production. And it's interesting that Jeff Workman started as an engineer for Roy Thomas Baker, because this to me sounds, it's especially in the drum sound. If you listen to, the Queen albums from the 70s, like A Night at the Opera, the first couple of Journey albums with Steve Perry, Infinity and Evolution, those are Roy Thomas Baker. And it seems like Jeff Workman was producing in very much in that style, where everything, it seems like the meters were just maxed out, you
Yeah,
know and there's that creates an energy. But with a band like Toto, to radio listeners and to even their record label, it probably sounded too abrasive, because their records are usually so pristinely perfectly produced that it's like, well, what is this? This sounds like you recorded one of your sound checks.
yeah,
But that's what gives it the excitement. That's what gives it the feel of a live band. Um, yeah, I love the fact that you've got, this fairly hard rocking song, but you've got the piano and the synthesizers in it too. I mean, it's a really good showcase for the whole band.
yeah. I think that the next track, English Eyes, is like one of the highlights, not only on this album, but in the early like period of Toto, maybe even in
Yeah,
their entire catalog. I just love this song. Bobby,
yeah,
as usual, sounds so incredibly good on this one. And you have that part where he slows down, and then he picks right back up, and he sings like "Red Sky Warning." That part is
yeah. Oh, yeah. That
so
is
good,
just, yeah, yeah,
so good.
yeah. I agree. Yeah, and I think if you look, I think that's the one song from this album that survived the longest into set list. They'll still do that, or at least part of that today. I've seen clips of it with Joseph Williams singing, and it's just really, really good.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I was just going to mention that Red Sky Warning part. Like, it is just, he just belts that out. It's so cool.
yeah,
But yes, it goes through. Yeah, it drops right down, and it goes through this section, this more mellow section, kind of like 99. It just
yep,
kind of just drops right down. But it's a false sense of, whatever, because it kicks right back in. Um, neither Gift with a Golden Gun or English Eyes to me are great singles, but they're great album tracks,
yep,
and they are catchy and they are hooky in their own way. I think that with a band like Toto, a record label is going to be like, they aren't love songs per se, so we can't do anything with these. Well, they could have, you know. Um, and both of those songs I find are sort of like little stories. Like they could almost be on a soundtrack to, like, a not necessarily a James Bond movie, but you know what I mean. Like, they tell stories. You're kind of interested in, you're kind of invested in the lyrics too. But then the chorus comes in, and then you're just singing along. It's great. Yeah, it's a great, great song, and I think there's a reason they tend to go back to this one.
yep. The next song, "Live for Today." This is the first song, and I was shocked when I read this. This is the first song that Steve Lukather wrote on his own. So he co-wrote some songs on the previous albums. He co-writes "Turn Back," the title track on this, with Bobby. But this one is the only one, the first one in the total catalog that he writes on his own. And I think it shows, because I don't think this is a really great track. I think this is like, goes down a bit in quality here. I think his vocal performance is kind of stiff, maybe just doesn't hit that hard, and maybe that's the purpose of it. But I'm not too fond of this song, actually. And yeah, what do you think?
I always really liked Steve's vocals. I think he's kind of an overlooked lead singer, but this definitely sounds like someone's first attempt at a sole writing credit when you look back at it.
Yeah,
Because any other rock band, this would be a great song on an album. It's a little bit basic for Toto. Um, I like the drum performance, Jeff Porcaro. Like, he's just got, even the drum fills are simplified. Like he understands, like this is not a song that calls for big elaborate drum fills. It's more like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't have picked this as a single.
No.
Definitely wouldn't have picked this as a single. But um, yeah, you're right. It doesn't have the drama that the first couple of songs have. I think it's a decent song, but yeah, it's obviously as a songwriter, he would improve leaps and bounds. But it's a good first attempt. But like I said, it's just a very basic sort of rock song that any decent rock band could have come out with. I think it's with Toto you expect a little more, and when they
Yeah.
do something that's very simplified like this, the other thing that's interesting about this song, I'm just trying to think if I'm right about this. I don't think there are any vocal harmonies in this song. It's just him,
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
which is also very, very different. Even in the chorus, it's just him.
I think
His
maybe his
vocals might
song,
be.
yeah, maybe his voice is doubled. Maybe.
I was just going to say
Yeah.
it might be doubled in
Yeah.
places, but you don't hear David Pace, you don't
Yeah.
hear Bobby Kimball. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have that vocal blend that you're used to with Toto either. It's very stark.
Yep.
Yeah, almost like it's unfinished.
Yeah, and that's maybe what I have a gripe about it. That it doesn't sound that polished. It sounds very unfinished, as you said. So, but don't get me wrong. I love Steve Lukather's voice. I really, really like Georgie Porgy. I love like 99 and these like earlier Steve Lukather vocals. But man, he developed his voice through the years. Like I just love what he sings on Kingdom of Desire. Basically,
Oh,
the whole
yeah, I
album.
mean, he really stepped up on that album. It is like, I'm going to sing all the songs. You guys okay with that? And he did a fine job.
Yeah.
I think he did a great job.
And I
Yeah.
think even on
But yeah, here it's
Tamboo and Minefields, just
yeah,
the songs that he sings, I just love. So don't
yeah.
get me wrong, I love his
Yeah.
guitar playing, I love his voice, but just on this particular track, it doesn't work for me. So
One of the things I do like about this song is the way it ends because it's got that down, 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 but the
mm,
very last time it's down, down, like it hangs on like an unresolved note, which is kind of neat. But yeah, I wouldn't have picked this as a single. This is the type of song where if it hadn't been on the album and then it ended up on, say, that Toto XX that came out in the late '90s, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool.
yeah,
But yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah. The next song, A Million Miles Away, really like this one. Slower tempo song. I love the singles you show
It's
here.
the B
Japanese
side. I'm
song.
holding this up again because it's the B side of this, and I would have made that the single, the A side.
Maybe it's a bit too slow for a single, maybe. But so I wouldn't have picked that one. Maybe, let's see here.
I wouldn't have made it the first single, mind you, but I think I would have put it out as one of the singles, simply for the fact that it's a ballad. Um, it might have had to have been remixed for radio and maybe gotten into the vocals a little sooner. It's got that big dramatic opening, but just simply the fact that it's a ballad, it might have been easier to promote as a single.
Yeah, I think actually I would have chosen the opener, "Get with the Golden Gun." I would choose that as a single. So maybe done an
Yeah,
edit of it, but yeah, I would choose that because it has the energy. This 1 million miles away, it's a bit slower. It picks up then in some parts of it, but mostly it's very slow, and also it's very quiet song. I don't know if it has
yeah,
something to do with the mastering or whatever, or the mix in general. But the quiet parts are extremely quiet, and then the
yeah,
loud parts are very loud. So
yeah.
that's always something
That's the
I have a
production.
gripe about with this song. You always have to turn up and down the volume, at least on my system. So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's that. This is where a song like this doesn't. The production on this album doesn't suit a song like this.
yeah,
This is a song where you want that Toto 4 Fahrenheit seventh one production where everything is balanced a little bit better.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
right. I mean, yeah, if they'd have come out with Gift of the Golden Gun or even English Eyes as a first single, they might have gotten more rock cred because I still think to this day, a lot of people think of Toto as a pop band. I'm like, you haven't heard the right songs.
Yep.
They're just extremely versatile, and the songs that you hear a lot. I mean, "Hold the Line" is not necessarily a pop song. That was a pretty heavy song for 1978, and that's they've got other songs like that, right? That have that sort of feel. But yeah, I think you're right. If they'd have come out with one of those first two tracks as a first single, I think people might have been like, "This is different."
Yeah, and also in Hold the Line, the like piano part makes it sound a bit light, but the actual
Yeah,
guitar riff is very heavy. So
it's
put
very
that riff in like any hard rock song or even like a metal song. Just da,
yeah.
da, 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 da. It's very aggressive.
There's a uh, yeah, it's a very good hook to get people into the song, and they're just grooving along with it.
Yeah,
But yeah, Million Miles Away, I think, has potential. It would have to have been remixed and shortened.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's a bit too grandiose, but there is a singable melody there, and it could have been like a um, one of those lighter waving ballads given a different treatment. But yeah, I think you're right. This is really where the production limitations come into it. It's like, guys, if you're gonna do an album like this, you can't put a song that's got these dynamic ups and
yeah.
downs because something's going to suffer in it.
But I think it's good that this is a slower song because you don't need to have all these hard rock driving songs all the time. You have to have some change up. So I like it for that. Maybe I wouldn't have ended the first side on this one. Maybe I'd put like "Live for Today" as the last song
Yeah,
on side
yeah,
A.
because yeah, that's a valid point because you've already proven it's a harder rocking album with the first two songs, then a breather, and then something picks back up. And yeah, that's probably a good idea because there is kind of a formula at work because both it's only got 8 songs on it, and both sides end with a ballad.
Yep, yep, yep. Now we get to "Goodbye Eleanor," and we mentioned the videos just briefly before, but I think the video for this is so awesome. And the first time I even heard about this video was on one of your videos actually. And you mentioned like the awesome ending with Jeff Porcaro just throwing
Oh,
up his
I
drumsticks at the end, and I
love
just
it.
had to
Yeah.
check it out, and it's really really awesome. So yeah,
Yeah, it just shows you it's an interesting choice. Like it looks more like something that should have been on a home video
yeah,
rather than a commercially released video. But again, it's still early days of video. Um, it's interesting that there aren't really any concept. I mean, if you look at the videos for 99 and St. George and the Dragon and even All Us Boys, there was a little bit more put into the production of those videos.
yeah,
This is just them in the studio, but it just shows you how good this band was and how they could just, I mean, if you really weren't paying attention and you just put it on, you might not notice at first that, hey, this is not the version that's on the album. This is different.
yeah,
Bobby's vocals are very raw. Um, it's not drastically different. It's just a little bit, but I do like the interplay that you see the interplay with these guys and how you know you got Steve Lukather's part when he comes in. He thought she was coming back when he wrote him a letter, and then but Bobby sings the rest of it, and watching him hit all those high notes, and in some cases not quite hit the note right like he does on the raw and cool. But absolutely, that ending with that huge drum fill finish and how Jeff just throws the sticks and gets up
yes,
like
and just walks
there.
out.
Like I can't I it's so badass. I love
Yeah,
it. He was so good. But and also like when you see Steve doing the solo, he just looks like he has so much fun playing, right? He's playing these blistering guitar solos, but he's smiling the whole time. He's a smiling guitar player. It makes sense to me he and Eddie Van Halen were such good friends because, they just had they just sheer love of playing. Um, but it's great. I discovered it, it wasn't until YouTube that I knew there were any videos from this album. But I love it. And I don't this is an interesting choice for a single though, as far as the song goes. It's
yeah.
a pretty rocking song. The first thing and that I noticed when I first heard the song, it kind of reminds me of Detroit Rock City by Kiss. It's got the shuffle beat. Da
I'm not too familiar with
da
Kiss, but yeah,
But if you listen to Detroit Rock City, it's down, 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 down. It's a shuffle,
Okay.
same tempo. That's where the similarity ends. But I couldn't help but notice it. It's a great song, and it's the one entry on this album, with the woman's name in it. Although this is the only time I've seen Eleanor spelled the way it's spelled on here. Usually it's like Eleanor Rigby by the beat. It's like Eleanor, but
Mm,
here it's Elenore.
mm,
It's like it's spelled phonetically, but
mm,
that's all a minor point. But yeah, great song, great vocal um from Bobby, great harmonies, the no, 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 no. Um, and I love the interplay, how this is almost getting into more of that prog. You can tell these guys had prog roots, like they grew up listening to Yes and because all of those stops and
I love that
starts,
part. It's so
so
good.
good. Yeah. Um, and at the end where you've got the keyboard that down down
Mm,
down, like the going up and down the keyboard. And yeah, it's a great song. I don't know how effective it would have been as a single, but I like it.
but the interesting thing is, it was a hit in Japan only, which is very interesting because I would have never thought that this song would have been a hit anywhere. But yeah, only in Japan.
Japan has always been really supportive of groups like this, though, so it
Yeah,
doesn't surprise me too much.
yeah. So I think Goodbye Eleanor is one of the highlights. I think Give Her a Golden Gun, English Eyes, Goodbye Eleanor, even the title track, like the four best songs on the album, in my opinion. Really, really good. But the next song is I Think I Could Stand You Forever. Also, not too fond of this song. I think it's kind of repetitive. I think the chorus is not as catchy as I would have liked. It doesn't do much for me. Yeah, I don't like this one that much. What do you think?
I really like this one, and this is one I would definitely have made a single. I think it's catchy enough, and I mean, one thing that catches any song that starts off a cappella, like starts off just with vocals, immediately catches attention. But I think it's got a really nice melody, and I like how it goes into those sort of darker chords. Um, I must go down, down, down. It's got that descending part, and then the riff comes in. It's like Steve has a lot of flange on his guitar. That wow, two things about that. I mentioned Van Halen. If you listen to that riff when that cuts in before the rest of the band kicks in, and then you listen to the song Summer Nights on 5150, it reminds me of this song a lot. And then, even closer to that, the last song on the Survivor album, When Seconds Count, which is called Can't Let You Go, it's the exact same riff. Down, 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 down. I mean, they're just basic chords. It's funny how all these songs remind me of each other. Um, I like that. I like the combination. I think that you've got Lukather and David Page on this one. And David Page, I always liked his vocal. He didn't sing a lot, and over the years he stopped singing leads altogether. But I always liked his voice.
Me too.
Um, I don't know. I just like this song. I always have. It's different, but I think I would have made this a single way before Live for Today.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
um, I don't know. And I like how it fades in to the title song. With dun, 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 dun,
Mm,
dun, dun, dun,
mm,
and then we get to Turn Back, which is again a little more of that prog thing,
yeah.
I think.
And I think Turn Back is also one of the highlights of the early period. I think the title track is just so good. Bobby is again on fire on this one. He sounds so good. Yeah, when he sings "Run Through the Darkness," he hears "Turn Back." Like it's so good. And
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no survivors and all that
Yeah.
whole part, and I love also the like the keyboards. I
Yeah,
love it.
it adds to the sort of mysterious nature
Yeah,
of it rather than
yeah.
take away. What's interesting about that song is that, obviously the record label had no thought there was no commercial potential because it's the B-side of both of these.
Okay.
Both of these have turned back on the B-side. Yeah, no, I really like it. It's very atmospheric. Yeah, it's just a really cool song that people that like harder rock sort of music, I think really need to listen to this song. Go, wow, these guys could rock and be a little bit mysterious but yet it's still catchy. You get the like Run to the Darkness. You get all these. There's hooks. Um, Great guitar solo.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's fantastic. I just love it. Yeah,
yeah.
I just love
Really
it.
great song. That was actually one of the first songs that really stuck out to me when I first heard the album. I was like, "Holy crap, this is so
Yeah.
so good!" And
Yeah, I wasn't
yeah,
expecting it, You hear the dun, 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 you're like, "Oh, what's this?" And
yeah,
you hear that dun, dun, like and another part of that song I like is where, you just have, um, the guitar and the drums before the rest of the band kicks
mm,
in. It's like dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
dun, 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 and the whole band
yeah,
love it. Oh, it's I just wanna listen to it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's a great sign when you just feel an urge to listen to it. It's really good.
And
But,
it's odd to have a title song of an album, the second to the last track. Usually it's like the first song or maybe the first song on side 2 or maybe the last song,
mm,
but they just kinda stuck it where they did. But I mean, it makes sense to be where it is. It's deep into the album. It's a deep track, so yeah, I guess it works.
yeah, and I also think like starting just give me with the Golden Gun, English Ice, two rockers in a row. But then you have Live for Today, A Million Miles Away. So you have a rocker, a slower tempo song. Then you have a rocker with Goodbye Eleanor. I think I could stand forever. It's also kind of a rocker, but it's a bit slower, a bit more mellow, but still
Yeah,
hard rocking stuff. Then you have Turn Back, which really ramps up. And then If It's the Last Night is also kind of a lighter song.
yeah.
So yeah, but I think the last song pretty good. I kind of like it, but I also think just the same as I think I could stand you forever. I think if it's the last night, is a bit repetitive for my taste. I think it's all right. It's a good closer, but I would have preferred to have Turn Back as the last song because I think it's just so epic at the end with Bobby singing and just ramps up so much. I think that would have been a great end for the album, just leaving on that epic note. So yeah, I think I would have switched these two. So I would have after I think I could stand you forever. I would have if it's the last night and then end with Turn Back. That's the way I would have done it. So
Either that or gone from Goodbye Eleanor into If It's the Last Night. That way you still had that transition from I Think I Could Stand You Forever into Turn Back.
yeah, true, true,
But
true. Very true.
so another Lukather vocal. It's very quiet. I mean, Million Miles Away was quiet. This is even the chorus is quiet on this song,
Mhm.
and I think it's almost like saying goodbye. I mean, not just in the song, but it's like saying goodbye to listening to the album is what they were going for. Um, but it's okay. I mean, his vocal in the verses kind of reminds me of well, the last song on the first album, Angela.
Oh,
The difference
so
there,
good.
of course, is that Angela kicks in and it becomes this epic song, and I really like that one.
Me too.
This one never does. This one never does. But I mean, it's all right. So yeah, there's a single cover, and the boy is dressed up, for the camera. That's they kind of look, they kind of look like a bunch of guys that just ended up in a picture together. That it doesn't really look like a band.
Yeah.
But anyway, um, yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's just it's funny how they both of the sides end on such slow songs. But I suppose they kind of had to write something. They're not their best ballads. I mean, they would go on. I think their best ballads were yet to come, like How Does It Feel, and
I'll be over
Anna,
you.
and I'll Be Over You, certainly, yeah, and Two Hearts, and but it's I have a real soft spot for this album because there's so many songs on this that I just think people need to hear, and they're not going to hear them. I've never ever heard any songs from this on any sort of radio.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm not too fond of If It's the Last Night. I think I Could Stand You Forever and Live for Today. But I think the rest of the album is just so, so good. Really, really good
Yeah.
album. So, and those songs are not terrible anyway at all. It's just they are not as strong as the rest for me. So I think this is like a solid 8 out of 10. I think it's a really, really good album. So yeah, if anybody who's watching have not checked this out, or maybe hasn't heard it in many years, go listen to it. It's really, really solid. And yeah, so that's the main takeaway from this. Listen to this album; it's really good. So yeah,
Even if you've got like Toto compilations, other than I think Goodbye Eleanor, you're not going to know any of the songs on here
yeah,
if you don't have the studio albums.
yep, yep,
So it'll be like a new album to listen to.
yep. Any last thoughts on Turn Back, Tim?
It's fascinating to me how they went from an album that didn't even sell a million copies worldwide into Toto 4, which made them. But the sad thing is, I love this band. Even after Toto 4, they didn't maintain that, at least in North America. They never had another album that did anywhere close to that.
Yeah,
It's just a shame that they didn't maintain, even though my personal favorite Toto album is Isolation,
yeah,
but that's a whole other story.
yeah,
Isolation and Turn Back, I know there was a period where that's all I listened to by Toto, was one of those two albums. So no, I really like this album a lot, and it needs to be revisited.
Did
It would be great. This
Isolation
would be
have?
one of those albums that would be cool if someday you find out that it does certify gold on Billboard or RIAA. I doubt it, but you never know. It would be cool to see happen because it deserves it.
Was Isolation an album that was overlooked by most people?
I think the fact that they changed lead singers.
Yeah, Fergie.
I mean, I say change lead singers, change the guy that was out front doing like the high tenor stuff,
Yeah,
because Fergie Frederickson had such a different voice than Bobby. Um, but I think it's a great, great, great album. And if people only heard the singles, it's like the record label didn't even have any faith in their new singer because the singles were all either Lukather or Page singing. So
yeah,
it's really weird, but it's a fantastic album. You know, Commercially, if they'd have followed up Toto 4 with Fahrenheit, it might have been different, or the seventh one,
yeah,
because those were more, those had more pop appeal. But I just there's just such a rich catalog there to listen to, and this is one of those off that they went off the course a little bit and they corrected it, but I really like what they were doing here.
yeah. You mentioned that Isolation on that album, the main single still have like Fergie is singing. Wasn't it the same on Fahrenheit? Like the main single was "I'll Be Over You," and that's Lukather singing that one. So it was kind of the
And
same
then
thing there.
yeah, and then Without Your Love, which is Lukather.
Yep, yep,
I know Till the End was a single, but I don't know how. I don't remember hearing Till the End until I started buying their albums. I don't remember seeing the video in 1986. I don't remember hearing any of it. Um, Obviously, by the time the seventh one came out, they kind of changed because they put out Pamela, which had Joseph on it. But Joseph was such a good replacement for Bobby Kimball. He has his own sound. He doesn't sound like him, but he can sing those early songs, and it sounds right.
yeah. He has that higher range, just like Bobby.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
and that's what they, that's part of their sound. I like the fact, Lukather's got this good mid-rangey voice. It's not terribly high, but doesn't need to be. David Page has this kind of, I call it a powdery kind of vocal. Like David Page could have sung for the Alan Parsons Project. He said
oh, yeah,
he's got that sort, I call it a powdery kind of voice. And I know Steve Porcaro sang too, but he wasn't really a lead singer. But you wanted that high tenor voice. Like they said, we had to compete with Steve Perry. and Lou Graham and Tommy Shaw and Dennis DeYoung and Kevin Cronin. Like all these guys had these high voices, and we had and Survivor, so they that's why they all and I love the fact that they've got it just gives you more variety to listen to on the album.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting all these different voices. And having said all of that, like I said, love Kingdom of Desire, but if you know anything about the Toto story, by that point, they were just over trying to find a lead singer.
Yeah.
They had that debacle with those 4 songs in 1990, and but um
Yeah.
but uh but yeah, they uh it's strange how they made these decisions, and then the record label's like, yeah, we're going to go with a voice that radio listeners are used to. I know we're getting off topic here, but I always thought that Fergie Frederickson, who's sadly no longer with us, I'm really surprised that I've never read anything about him being sought out by Yes when they were looking for a vocalist, because he always kind of reminded me of John Anderson. He's got that high like super high vocal, that searingly high vocal that I think he could have sung Yes songs easily.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just love that album, Isolation, like Angel Don't Cry, Carmen, just
Title
so many good.
song,
Yeah.
Change of Heart.
Stranger in
Well, Stranger in
Town.
Town.
Yeah.
Stranger in Town. I've called that my favorite Toto song. I just think that's such a cool song, and I can't believe it didn't do better on the charts. It was so catchy. It had such a great mini movie of a video with Brad Dourif in it. Like
Yeah, the guy from Lord of the
it's a
Rings.
shame it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Greenville Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, but yeah, the video. I mean, if anybody has seen the Stranger in Town video, it's just really really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah.